Here we go. Adjust that angle just a little. There. Like that better. There we are. Color refreshed. I decided to give the pink a rest for a bit. I needed something, I think, a little less cotton candy for a little bit. Something slightly more subdued. Something that maybe you need to do a double take at first. Like, oh? So, yeah. That's the new color. Also went a little bit closer on the backs and the sides and had them do a fade with it. So it's going from significantly shorter than it was up to about where it was before. So adjusted that a little bit too. Looked like a mermaid. Well, yeah, that was kind of the angle I was going with. Carey Mulligan and Andrew Garfield have Oscar nominations, and they both appeared on Doctor Who prior to their big breaks. Rebecca, I will be curious to see how many Oscar facts you can tie into Doctor Who. We'll see what you've got. Okay. Variety is the spice of life. Chaos is the barbecue sauce of life. Your hair is the chocolate of life. Ooh. I don't know what I said. I hope that was a compliment. Well, I took it as one. Now I'm hungry, but that's okay. I have strawberries. So, yeah. Let's talk about the Oscar nominations. Now, as has happened the last few years, I've seen very few of the films that have received a lot of nominations. And actually, the movie that I saw recently that I thought was going to pick up a lot, basically anything that I thought should have been nominated wasn't. Like, my big plan was to root for Taron Egerton to pick up Best Actor for Rocketman. He wasn't even nominated. I was really going to pull for Knives Out in anything they wanted to nominate it in. Barely a dang thing. So, yeah. My feelings of this, arguments around Joker, flaring up again, getting bad-tempered. Yeah, well, look, I'll get to Joker. Stick a pin in that one. I'll get to it. I didn't want to lead with it, okay? But broadly speaking, like, I've seen very little of what's been nominated, which is that's pretty much standard for me and the Oscars at this point. And honestly, I think that's standard for anybody who doesn't have an art house theater local to them and who doesn't like go way out of their way to frequent it. Because unless you do, you haven't seen most of these movies either. You haven't had the opportunity to see a lot of them. So, of the ones that are nominated, the ones that I actually plan to see at some point, I do want to see Jojo Rabbit. I want to see Little Women. I definitely want to see Parasite. The Irishman is kind of a back burner, like maybe 1917, I'm curious to see how well the gimmick holds up. And I've been told to watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood by people who I trust enough that, yeah, I'll give it a shot, but I was prepared to let that one wait. So this is one of those days where I'm probably going to miss a fair amount of the questions. Watch Parasite first. I'll try. Like, I don't know. Time, people. Time is not a thing I have a lot of. But as far as like things like Best Lead Actor, I've only seen one of these performances. And I haven't seen the rest of them. I haven't seen any of the performances up for Best Actress. I have seen one of the performances for Supporting Actor. None of the ones for Supporting Actress. Animated Feature, honestly, I'm kind of glad Frozen 2 didn't get a nomination. I think what they put in was more deserving. I would have liked Lego Movie 2 to get a nomination, but they spurned the first one for completely BS reasons, so I knew it wasn't going to get a look in anyway. So I knew better than to hold out hope for that one. But then we get into the technical cinematography, etc., etc., etc. If I were to make animated one's the one I feel like I've seen the most in, though I still haven't seen a decent chunk of them. I'm probably going to end up pulling for Toy Story 4, which was way better than it had any right to be. So let me pop on back in the chat, see what I'm missing. Only seen Joker and Little Women. May see JoJo soon. Okay. Just kicked off this year watching a few films that got released back to back. The Gentleman, Jojo Rabbit, Little Women. Oh, you've been busy. Okay. So, Frozen 2 was badly written. I'm going to disagree. I don't think it was badly written in a vacuum. It does not hold a candle to the writing of the first one. Because the writing of the first one was so tight, and the second one is just, it isn't. It's very loose comparatively. So it's a step down to its own predecessor, certainly. Just watched the first episode of Dracula, enjoying it so far. I finished that last night, actually. I had started watching it before. I make my usual Oscar predictions on my radio show for the third year in a row. Well, best of luck to you. Well, last time I made Oscar predictions, I won my Oscar pool. So I've got a decent track record of doing that, and that is despite not having seen most of the movies. I actually think, in terms of predictions, which I don't know if I'm going to make them here, but in terms of predictions, actually not having seen the movies might make me better at it, because I just look at the politics, and I don't mean politics like left wing, right wing. I mean the internal industry politics that tend to dominate how the Oscars go. And just going off that and established precedent, I tend to do pretty well. So, you know, toss a coin to your Witcher of Valley of Plenty. Okay. Can only afford to see 3 films back to back because of the mad stacks I'm making on that thumbnail salary. You do wonderful work, Joel. Don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise. Anyway, so, oh geez, can you explain what you mean by tight and loose writing? Go watch my review. Mainly, I'm talking about the theming. All the themes were incredibly tightly knit throughout nearly everything that went on in the first Frozen. The theming is not nearly as carefully laid out across the entire film in the second one. It just isn't. So, I got accepted to my college's honor society. Congratulations, Connor. So, coming back to the Oscars themselves, let's deal with the elephant in the room. Let's talk about Joker. So, let us first establish, I did not especially like Joker. I did not hate it. I didn't think it was a terrible movie. I thought it was a pretentious movie. I thought it was a movie that had a lot of the trappings of trying to be about something, but it couldn't make a strong enough decision about what it wanted to be about. And I know people have tried to make the arguments to me like, oh, but it's about all those things. Like, but it's not. It acknowledges a ton of stuff. I'm not sure that it's about any of it. And for some people it worked, and that's fine. It's one of those movies that people want to paint everyone as either loving or hating. I feel neither way. I did not particularly enjoy it, but I don't hate it. And I'm not mad at other people for liking it. I am mad at a lot of fans of Joker being jerks about the way in which they like it, but, you know, separate issue. But anyways, it getting 11 nominations caught me very off guard. And I think it caught a lot of people off guard. The thing is, in many ways, I think in terms of the nominations, it is a beneficiary of the timing and the politics. And Harley, Harry, if you keep spamming the chat, we're gonna mute you. So, yeah, just don't. That's not to finger wave, but that's exactly what I'm talking about when I say I do hate the way some fans of this film act about it. You basically just made my point by spamming my chat. And I don't know if you were doing it as a joke or if you were doing it sincerely. But from my point of view, it doesn't matter because what you were doing was spamming my chat. I don't really care if you meant it as a joke or not. Anyways, coming back to the film, I think Joker is a beneficiary of the industry and box office politics of the time, which is the Academy very much has, and it knows it has a relevance problem, but it also doesn't know how to deal with it because its head is stuck up its own butt collectively as an organization. So it's a well-remarked fact at this point that most people don't see or haven't seen most of the films that get nominated for Oscars at this point. That was a shift that started happening in the 90s and then pervaded going forward. And in a lot of ways, it kind of culminated when 2008 came around, or I guess since the movie came out in 2008, it was the 2009 Oscars came around, and The Dark Knight was omitted off of Best Picture. And the year after that was when they upped the number of nominees for Best Picture to up to 10. And it was a very transparent attempt by the Academy to try and appear relevant, because opening up more nominations was the only way they were going to get actually popular movies on the billing at all. And that was why, the following year we saw nominations for things like District 9, like Avatar, like Up. And I'm not going to say that was a bad thing, but it was a cynical move. But the Academy has been trying to keep dealing with that. And understand, any of the films that I mentioned, the ones I mentioned or any of the ones that I'm about to mention, including Joker, my saying that its nomination is cynical does not mean it doesn't deserve the nomination. It just means that whether or not it does deserve it is not the reason it got it. So with something like, if we look at last year and we look at Black Panther, that was, and I feel personally, a deserved nomination. But again, if you pay attention to the politics going on in the industry at all, it was very clear that the Academy is where all the snobs are. And they don't like how monstrously popular what in their mind is junk cinema is right now. And superheroes are at the heart of that. So when something like Black Panther comes along, which has a lot more on its mind and a very different aesthetic in terms of the design and the way that it's going about things, yet was also monstrously popular, that's on a silver platter for the Oscars, because they can go, ooh, this has social relevance and it's popular. Oh, look how plugged in we are. And Joker is basically that for this year. I actually will bet you that the Academy was so happy when Joker came out, because before that, for them to acknowledge the superhero genre, which they don't like to do, but they kind of have to if they don't want to look like they've got blinders on to what 90% of the movie-going audience likes to see right now, their best option was Avengers Endgame. And I guarantee you they did not want to nominate Avengers Endgame. So Joker comes out, and suddenly they can appear to be in and acknowledging and bestowing prestige on this subgenre that has been dominating the industry, while doing it for a film that deliberately snubs most of the conventions and visual stylings of that genre. It is I'm not saying it was designed as Oscar bait, but for the climate of the Oscars right now, it was the perfect bait for the Oscars, because it's plugged into the stuff that they know is popular but don't like acknowledging, but it is distanced enough from it that they don't feel like they're compromising themselves by nominating it. And there you go with Joker. I still did not expect 11 nominations. That threw me off massively. And some of them, like, when the movie picked up best sound or best score at the Golden Globes, I was like, wait, what? And same with it getting nominated for it here. And it's not because I thought the score wasn't good, but it's because I don't remember the score of that movie at all. The only music I remember were the super obvious needle drop, time appropriate music tracks that were played. So that boggled me. But I'll get into some of the specific nominations that it picked up in a little bit. I want to kind of break from talking Joker and come on back to the chat and see what I've missed, which is probably a lot. Netflix having the most Oscar noms of all studios is probably the biggest story. It is, but they're not going to win most, if any, of those categories. So much like the superhero movie or the comic book movie getting a lot of nominations, I don't think Joker's going to win most of these categories. So it's debatable how much that matters, because a nomination doesn't have to have meaning. An award has meaning. A nomination has a little, but not a ton. It doesn't tie them down the way an actual award does. You didn't like Joker because insert "we live in society here" joke. Yeah, pretty much. John Hurt was nominated for the Oscars for the film Midnight Express and Elephant Man. Oh, Rebecca, you're back with Doctor Who related Oscar trivia. I love it. I don't know. Black Panther was good, but not Best Picture good in my opinion. Well, it's debatable what a Best Picture nominee is supposed to mean. And the thing is, they call it Best Picture. None of this is actually meant to be the Best Picture. It's a weird amalgamation. And it muddies the waters that they call it Best Picture, because that's not really what it is. And that's not really what it has ever been. Thought Logan could have been easier for them to swallow. Yeah, I would have thought Logan would have picked up a few more. But, So, let me see. Hold on. What bugs me is that most people are hung up on the superhero bias, but in a year we had Us, Midsummer, Doctor Sleep, and The Lighthouse. What about the horror bias? Oh, they've always had a horror bias. Like, what horror movies have gotten major nominations? Last one was Silence of the Lambs. That was a fluke. History has borne out that is an absolute fluke. I still see Uncut Gems. I've heard good things about that. I don't usually comment on movies I haven't seen, but Joker looks like Taxi Driver with Joker as Travis Bickle. It basically is. And I'll come back to that. Peter Capaldi won an Oscar for Best Short Film. He did. You're right. Anyways, big man, I'm not saying Silence of the Lambs wasn't good. I'm saying that the fact that a horror movie, which it is, you can call it a thriller or whatever you want, the fact that it's a horror movie, that it won as many Oscars as it did, that is the fluke. Not that the movie wasn't good, it was, but it winning went in opposition of the politics of the era. So it's a fluke. And honestly, Lord of the Rings was a fluke. They managed to stretch it out for 3 Oscars in a row and then do the clean sweep with Return of the King. But that was a fluke. That was a fantasy fluke, the way that Silence of the Lambs was a horror fluke. So understand, when I say these things, I'm surprised they got nominations. I'm not talking about the qualities of the films. I'm talking about the way that the Oscar politics tend to pan out. Best Picture just means most Oscar baiting and self-loving. Not always. They've surprised me sometimes. Like, I was very pleasantly surprised when Shape of Water won. That meant a lot to me when that won. Especially because I was expecting 3 Billboards to win. And that would have ticked me off badly. So I still don't like that a bunch of the actors won for that, but it's not their fault they didn't write it. If it's a blockbuster, it won't get nominated. Not for the big ones. They'll pick up the technical awards. Us was my favorite movie of the year because I saw it on a date and because it was good. Us was incredible. But anyway, I need to come back to talking about how I saw the first episode of Dracula. So, I did finish it. I'm intrigued. I want to see where it's going. It is... it is the kind of bonkers that I would expect from Moffat and Gatiss, because it's the kind of reverie of the material, yet going nuts with it, that they kind of did with Sherlock. I'm hoping it doesn't drive off a cliff by the time it's done, the way Sherlock did. But here's here's the thing. I think Damien Sim from Doctor Who should play the Joker in the sequel. I don't know who that is. Now here's the thing about the Dracula. I enjoyed it. I did. But and I liked the guy who played Dracula a lot more than I thought I would. But did Moffat and Gatiss do Jekyll? No, just Moffat by himself on that one. I'm gonna tell you something that sounds like a spoiler, but it only happens like 2-3 minutes into the thing. But when I heard this, if I had been drinking something, I would have done a spit take. As it was, I simply shouted out loud, "What the word that I'm not gonna say on the live stream?" So, a gaunt, emaciated Jonathan Harker is being interviewed by a nun about him escaping Castle Dracula. And she asks him, just straight-faced, "Did you have sexual intercourse with Count Dracula?" And then the opening credits start after that. It takes a while. What's really funny about that is that after that, it goes into like a crazy faithful, for like maybe a half hour or so, a crazy faithful adaptation. And it doesn't get that crazy again, that nuts again, until the tail end of the first episode. And I haven't seen past the first episode, so no spoilers in here. But yeah, it does sort of come back to that level of crazy and sort of, I'm sorry, what? But it's crazy in an enjoyable way. And if you're going to go nuts, I think it makes a lot of sense to go nuts on a fairly established, very well-worn, oft-repeated story, because everyone knows the way this story normally goes. So let's go crazy with it for a little bit. Rise of Skywalker getting the nom for Best Original Score is a big joke. It is a little bit odd, given that how much of it is based off, musical motifs from the previous films, either the immediate two precedings or the ones before that. But I mean, it's John Williams. He's grandfathered in to get nominations forever. There's only 3 episodes of Dracula. Can even Moffat mess things up in that amount of time? Yeah, he can. Remembers Face the Raven, Heaven Sent, and Hellbent. Yeah, give him 3 episodes. He can do it. I'm hoping Gatiss keeps him in check. See, here's the funny thing. I actually like Gatiss as a writer when he isn't writing Doctor Who. And I feel like he restrains Moffat at least a little bit, a fair amount of the time when they work together. The BBC Jekyll show, that did kind of fall apart by the end. But like I said, that was Moffat on his own. I love the fact that Gatiss is a gay man. Yeah, I mean, good for him, I suppose. I don't know. I'm just. Not entirely sure why it came up, but yeah, no, fine. What are your favorite and least favorite Best Picture winners? Oh, see, the thing is, there's a lot of Best Picture winners that I refuse to see. Like, I've never seen Crash. I'm never gonna see Crash. I kind of refuse to see that. I didn't see Green Book. I don't want to see it. So it's hard for me to say. If I were to pick a favorite, at least from the last 20 years, it would be Shape of Water. So, like, that movie meant a lot to me on a personal level. Well, things get as heated as they did when Green Book won. I follow numerous people with very different opinions on that film, same as Joker. And the thing is, I am not going to say that Green Book's a bad film. I'm not sure that it is. I haven't seen it. But it was a very... From its structure and what it was doing, it's the kind of movie that, like, you would engineer in a lab to win Oscars. So it winning felt very... disappointing. Sometimes it feels like there are critics that are incapable of objectively observing a film for what it is or what isn't. Well, look, here's the thing, Connor. There is no such thing as objective criticism. The quickest way to get me to disregard any comment anybody leaves is when they accuse me in a review of not being objective. No critic is objective. An objective review of Joker would go like this. Joker was a film released by Warner Brothers. It runs for 120 minutes. It stars Joaquin Phoenix as a character who eventually identifies as the Joker. It also stars these other people. At the end of the movie, there were credits. That's an objective review. If you're judging the quality, it's a subjective judgment because it's filtered through you subjectively as a person. So, like, whenever I see the word objective anywhere near the word critic or critical or criticism, I check out mentally. That said, some critics are very bad at acknowledging what their subjective viewpoint is. And that is its own problem. Because if critics buy into the idea that they're objective, that's like, oh, for God's sake. That results in some really bad criticism. But even beyond that, and it's fine for a critic to be subjective, but I think it's important that they give the audience some sort of view of how they are subjectively viewing something. Which is why it's very common for me whenever I talk about anything to say, look, I just don't get it, or this is my history with this kind of topic, or this kind of thing just appeals to me, because maybe I can't justify it, but I can just give you a little bit of insight into me to understand enough why I like it. And then it'll be your own call as to whether or not that's a reason you would like it or not. Oh, and before I say it, because I keep forgetting to say it, I'm so annoyed. Knives Out, I did not get more nominations, and the... I forget her name now, but the woman who played the nurse, she deserved a nomination so much, and she was so good. I'm just depressed that Doctor Who is no longer on Amazon Prime. Yeah, that is annoying. You're approaching objectivity subjectively. Yeah, well, I'm a human being. I do everything subjectively. All right. Did you see Dr. Sleep? I did not. I heard very good things. Did you see ContraPoints' video on cancel culture? Of course I did. I had to watch it in chunks. It's a lot to get through. Especially if any of what you read rings a bell. It's a lot, but it was very well put together. I like her work in general. I pretty much always have for as long as I've been watching her stuff. Gotta love the water. Oh yeah, it's important to hydrate. Have you seen The Lighthouse? I have not. Have you seen Good Omens? Yeah, I've got a review up. Gatiss' best Doctor Who story was the novel and later Big Finish adaptation Nightshade. I might have to add that to my Big Finish list, my to-do list. ContraPoints' video was super good, and it depresses me that she went through such things. The internet can be a really toxic place. Don't blame the internet. People can be toxic. All the internet is a means by which people can do things that people are inclined to do. Internet's a tool like anything else, and much like a hammer, you can use it to build a house or you can use it to break somebody's fingers. I want to see Knives Out. Cannot help but wonder if part of it is out of spite against Rise of the Skywalker. Well, look, as someone who didn't like Return of the Jedi, Knives Out is great. It's Rian Johnson doing exactly what he's good at. And it works here for me in a way that it didn't in The Last Jedi. So, there are 3 British YouTube channels you should check out. Cynical Reviews, Cynic Snacks, Vox's Productions. They're all brilliant. Haven't heard of any of them. I'm noticing a repetition of the word cynical. Have you folks figured me out that well? Here's the thing. I am cynical, but my aim is to not be a bummer to be around because of it. I do my best to be the most pleasant cynic that I can be. Are you going to watch Sonic the Hedgehog when it comes out? I'll probably see it eventually, but I don't know if I'm planning to rush it. That's one of those movies that's going to fall under the, do I have anything else to do? And if the answer is no, then maybe. We'll see. I am glad Klaus got nominated, in my opinion, Best Animated Film of 2019. I still haven't seen it. Visually, it's great. Have you ever heard of the book Picture? Oh, hang on. Pictures Out of Revolution by Mark Harris. It's about the 1967 Best Picture nominees and the journeys from production to Oscar night. Nope, didn't know that one. So I suppose jumping back to the Oscars real quick. And you know what? Let's just roll on through and let's go category by category for a little bit. I gotta be honest, Best Picture is very tough to call. Because I don't think there is an easy thing for them to go with. The Academy members historically have not really liked Tarantino all that much, so I'd kind of be surprised if Once Upon a Time in Hollywood got it. Ford v Ferrari has a shot, but that's more or less by default. The Irishman won't get it because it came out on Netflix and there's too much politics involved in that. Marriage Story, honestly, I think it's too low-key for them to go for. 1917 has a shot. I think that falls under the possibility. I think Parasite might have the best shot at it if the Oscar voters actually bother to see it. That's actually a legitimate problem, is getting all the Oscar voters to actually see these dang things. And that's part of why subtitled films, even when they're nominated for Best Picture, frequently don't do well. Jojo Rabbit, I think, is too deliberately politically charged. They won't touch it. And Little Women, it's like, I don't know, like the third adaptation of it. I'd be surprised if they went with that. Actor in a lead role, I do think Joaquin Phoenix will get that. The only reservation I'd put on that at all is there might be some hesitation to now give an Oscar on 2 occasions to actors who have played a variant of the same character. There might be some hesitation around that, but for my money, Joaquin Phoenix, he still gets that. Actress in a leading role, I don't know. I mean, unfortunately, like, first off, I haven't seen any of these. So, again, this judgment has nothing to do with what's the best. At a guess, it's not going to be Saoirse Ronan because she's young. She'll get nominated again. Charlize, maybe. I don't know if Bombshell is a little bit too loaded, but then again, it's loaded in a direction that they're usually comfortable with, so maybe. Scarlett for Marriage Story, possible. Renee Zellweger for Judy, I don't think so. Cynthia Erivo for Harriet, I don't know. I think if I were to guess, I'd say it's probably either going to be Charlize Theron or Cynthia Erivo. Between the two, I don't know. That's a tough call. Supporting actor. This is the one that they might sneak in, and the Irishman might snag something. Al Pacino might pick this one up because he basically came out of retirement to do it. So this is kind of their last chance to award him with anything. Tom Hanks, I don't think will get it. I wasn't surprised that he was nominated, but I don't think he'll get it. Brad Pitt on An Outside Shot, maybe. No to Anthony Hopkins, no Al Pacino. So for my money, Joe Pesci, maybe Brad Pitt. Actress in a supporting role, let's see, Kathy Bates, Florence Pugh, Margot Robbie. Robbie's not going to get it. Johansson's not going to get it. They'll probably give it to Laura Dern. Yeah. Animated feature film. This is a tough one because normally Pixar is your safe bet, but like there's a 4 on the end of that, and the Academy doesn't love awarding sequels, especially ones that don't feel like a continuing part of the same story, like Lord of the Rings was. They might throw a bone to Leica and give it to Missing Link on that. Klaus won't get it again because Netflix. I Lost My Body. That's the token art house one. Not enough of them will actually watch it. That won't win. I would say it's either going to be Missing Link or Toy Story 4. I think Leica might actually pick it up this time. Cinematography, 1917. The whole gimmick of shooting the whole thing in one shot and to do it with this huge action-heavy thing. Yeah, 1917 gets that. That's a lock. Costume design, Little Women. That'll take that. Academy loves period costumes. Directing, okay. This one, all right. This is the one Joker nomination that I'm annoyed at, as opposed to just slightly surprised by. And that is because, regardless of how good you think the movie is, the entire MO going into it, which was, this is not supposition, this was the declared intention of the film, was to look like a Scorsese film. Scorsese produced it, and Todd Phillips aped a lot of Scorsese stuff, specifically Taxi Driver, while directing it. And I'm not even saying he did it badly, nor am I saying that that is somehow an invalid way to direct a film. Of course you can ape somebody else's style. If you think that style fits the story you're going to tell, go for it. However, I do take issue with awarding someone whose entire approach was to make it look like somebody else. I don't know. That feels like giving a Grammy Award to a cover. And maybe they do that. I don't know. I don't follow the Grammys, but it's that kind of thing. It's like, but it's not really you made it like something else, and especially given all the other directors who weren't nominated in that category, who I thought would have made more sense than Todd Phillips. And I say that not getting into anything about any of the stuff the guy said. I don't want to touch any of that. Just in terms of what the film Joker is, that nomination annoys me. If I were to guess, I'd say that Bong Joon-ho probably has the best shot I still don't know if Parasite will win the big prize, but for my money, he picks up directing. Documentary, I haven't seen any of these. See, this is the thing. When I do the Oscar pool, there's a handful of categories that are basically just blind guesses. And you can maybe look up a couple of things about, like, what the subject is and try and figure out which is more likely to tug at the heartstrings of the Academy voters. But documentary, both feature and short, those are going to be blind guesses for me. So I'm not even going to dwell on that. Editing, that is a tough call between those nominees. At a guess, I'm going to say either Parasite, maybe Jojo Rabbit. International film. If Parasite doesn't win Best Picture, it will win International Film. That might be its consolation prize. Makeup. Makeup might go to Joker. Maybe. Might also go to Bombshell. Because they like it when actresses are made up to look like other people. So, which would qualify Judy as well, but there's more of them in Bombshell. So, I think Bombshell's probably got the best shot at makeup. Music, I don't know. It won't be Star Wars. I mean, I suppose it might be Joker, given that that picked up the Golden Globe. But again, that still boggles me. Yeah, I don't know about music. Original song. Well, I can say that I hope it goes to Elton John for I'm Gonna Love Me Again, but that's a hard call. If it's not that, it might end up being Into the Unknown, because that's probably the one that most of the voters have had kids play in the car over and over and over again. Production design, production design might go to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. If not that, then probably Jojo Rabbit. Short film, animated, I don't know. Only one of these I saw was Hair Love, which was great. That was a great short. That was terrific. Short film, live action, haven't seen any of them. Sound editing, 1917 will take that. Sound mixing, 1917 will take that too. Those two are almost always paired together. Visual effects, they might toss Avengers Endgame a bone for that one. Screenplay adapted, I'm going to say goes to Jojo Rabbit. And original screenplay, that'll be Knives Out, which it deserves, but it deserves a lot more than that. But there you go. So let me pop on back here. See how we're doing. All right. So I'm sure I've missed a lot in the chat. Apologies there. Remember, many of the Beatles' big pre-experimental hits were covers of U.S. soul songs. Yeah, but again, I'm not saying that it doesn't make them good. I'm saying if you're going to recognize something as a piece of art, it is odd to do it for what is effectively a directorial cover, you know? Or maybe you don't know. Maybe I'm not making any sense. Maybe I am talking complete and utter nonsense and no one should listen to me. You make the call. I'm going to pop into the Discord real quick. See what's going on over there. And we are going to have to wrap this one up on time because I've got a lot of stuff to do tonight. But let me see. I guess not too many questions in the Discord. I think probably because it wasn't a topic that lent itself to, hey, what are your thoughts on bleh? Because the entire premise of this live stream was, here are my thoughts on bleh. That's what I'm going to start calling them. The 2020 annual bleh awards. The Academy of Motion Picture and bleh. Can the next Patreon perk be choosing Nathaniel's hair color? No. Like, if I put it up as a joke that a certain tier of the Patreon would be, you get to pick my next hair color, it would be very high. It would be intentionally, prohibitively high. And then with my luck, someone would do it anyway. I bet there are more Broadway actors named Tony that have won a Tony than there are movie actors named Oscar who have won an Oscar. That's... Somebody look on that. Somebody look into that. I don't know. Because it depends on whether or not you're allowed to shorten the name even if the actor doesn't. So, like, if an actor's name is Anthony, are we allowed to say that Tony won a Tony? Or do they have to be called Tony like in their official credits? You got to set rules out for these things, folks. You define your terms, set your parameters. I think that's about all that was here. All right, cool. So coming on back. People have bitten for a whole series, so that's a sucker's bet. Okay, all right, Carolyn, that's a fair point. I did set the the review of whole series worth of stuff at a very high price point, and somebody did do it. But like my point is, if I were to auction off my hair color, it would be higher than that was, which is like, I can't imagine that anybody would care enough, even if the intention was to mess with me, to spend that kind of money to do it. Oh, you made it, John. Nice to see you. I think the Orphan 55 speech wasn't there because the writer thought we wouldn't get the message, because they wanted to scare people taking the issue seriously, but the episode wasn't scary. I mean, end of the day, it doesn't matter. Whether it was hammering home a message because they thought we didn't get it, or trying to put a button on a scare thing. As you said, it wasn't scary. So whichever one it was, it still failed. It's just a question of which thing it was trying to accomplish. Have you ever worn one of those huge dresses they have in Little Women? I swear it would cause a person to lose several pounds. No, I have never been in one of those big, flouncy, puffy, multi-layered, 3 petticoats sorts of things. No, I've never worn one of those. One person named Oscar has won an Oscar. 3 Tonys have won a Tony. Thank you, Tiffy. That was a prompt response. I'm quite impressed how quickly you got that out. Oh God, Orphan 55 was mentioned. Run! Everybody to your security bunkers. Whatever. Look, it was a not great episode of Doctor Who. It's over. There's a new one on Sunday. I didn't like it either. So what? Get over yourselves. Every nomination this year was a period film. Is Parasite a period film? Tomorrow's the anniversary of my uncle's funeral. I'll be watching Colony in Space. It was first given to me by him for Christmas. It was the first classic Who story I ever saw. Aw, that's really sweet, Ben. I'm sorry that you lost him, but I think that's a really sweet way to remember him. I've been ranting hard in your Doctor Who review comments. I'm sorry. Like, you and about 50 other people. So, you know, I'm not exactly going to hold it against you. Did you know all the actors to play the Master who are still alive are starring in a Big Finish next year to celebrate the anniversary of the Master? Yeah, I did. I did know that. That's also on my, list of things that I hope to get to, but, time. It never stops moving. So, who knows when I'll get to that. We got about 10 minutes left. So, let's see. The Tonys are actually named the Antoinette Awards, and nobody named Antoinette has ever won one. Huh. Interesting. Well, I mean, Oscar is also a nickname. So, that's valid. I almost feel like the speech at the end of Orphan could have been tacked on by a script editor. It was just jarring. It did not flow into it smoothly at all. And Doctor Who can have very on the nose speeches, but it has to flow through the story and through the characters and the situation that they're in. That scale model of war speech in Zygon Inversion is not subtle. It is blunt. It is laying out exactly the themes and the message of the episodes. But it's also believably what the Doctor would be saying to these people under these circumstances, and the situation brings it about organically. It's the lack of that that makes the Orphan 55 speech fail. It's less the speech itself and more they did not build proper context around it to have it work. Currently borrowing my dad's classic Doctor Who DVDs, so the entire collection is on my shelf. He has 4 or 5, and I have 25. Nice. YouTube's been spamming me with anti-Who recommendations. It makes me crazy. Oh, man. See, the thing is, I actually haven't been watching a lot of other Who... I mean, like, the ones who I subscribe to normally, I've been watching. So that's like Ace Creeper, Crispy Pro, those folks and a few others I have been watching, but I don't pay attention to Doctor Who recommendations. My recommendations have been directing me to a lot of music-based stuff because I decided to binge through Todd in the Shadows One Hit Wonderland again. So I've got a lot of music-related videos in my recommendations right now. I'm really enjoying the new Master. He's kind of like if Classic Series Master had a really, really short temper. I like him so far. I want to see his next appearance because I with both the Doctor and the Master, I always need at least 2 appearances to really be certain that they are what I think they are, because otherwise they might act differently under different circumstances. So there's that. But so far, I'm down with it. Because my 8-year-old watches a lot of Minecraft tutorials on my account, that's what I get a lot of recommendations for. Oy. I imagine that gets old. I would have preferred a long, fleshed-out monologue, like the speech, a long, fleshed-out monologue than the speech we got in Orphan 55. They could have ditched the father-son plot altogether to have time for it. I don't think the issue was time, though. I think the issue was just finding the right circumstances to have it happen. Honestly, I think it also would have helped if it wasn't the last thing in the episode. I think if the Doctor had gotten just really frustrated at in the moment before they've escaped, I think it might have worked if the Doctor got really frustrated with the denial of Graham, Ryan, and Yaz, being like, no, this can't be Earth. And she kind of has a moment of, wake up. Yes, it can. You had the warnings. You didn't do anything about it. You bet your ass this is Earth. And then, from that, she has her moment to vent at them. And it can be mean, even. But then we get back into the story again because they still haven't escaped yet. It can be a bit like, say, when the Doctor got really upset in The Beast Below, and he was like, nobody human has any right to speak to me today. It could be something like that, and you could have gotten the message and even that degree of frustration in there, and I think it would have landed better if it wasn't the last thing in the episode. I think that did it a disservice, making it literally the last thing, because, like I said, I immediately thought of old Masters of the Universe. Or, for other people, maybe G.I. Joe. I didn't really watch that one, but, the lesson at the end, Well, boys and girls, here's the lesson, and you got to remember to turn off the lights in your house. You know, that sticking at the end reinforced that feeling. So I think that was part of the problem too, to be completely honest. They've been complaining about the upgrade comment in Spyfall, ignoring that it's not really out of character for the Doctor to view his body as an upgrade. See, the thing is, it's not that I thought it was out of character. I didn't complain about it. I just felt like between that and some of the stuff in Spyfall Part 2, I did think that it did feel like poking the bear. Either one in isolation, fine, but like 2 episodes in a row as part of the same story, I was a bit like, are we just needling at this point? Your daughter likes animals. Your daughter likes animals. Think she'll like a blue hedgehog. I don't know. I don't know if she has any clue who Sonic the Hedgehog is. I'm not going to tell her. If she tells me she wants to see the movie, I'll take her to it. I'm not bringing it to her attention. I'm really nervous about the timeless child thing. Oh, God. On the plus side, it could mean we see Rassilon and Omega back. I want Rassilon to be recast as Charles Dance. What is it with all you people in Charles Dance? Charles Dance for the Master. Charles Dance for Rassilon. First of all, Rassilon needs to be done. Barring the casting of somebody like Charles Dance, I think he just needs to be done. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to the finding out about the timeless child either, just because I don't want that arc. I don't want the mystery box arc anymore. I just don't. What you said in your Spyfall review about the timeless child arc made me think. I feel like it won't be answered this season. We got setup series 11, reminder series 12, answer in series 13. Okay, but even if that's the case, that won't change my opinion of it, because that's just a mystery box stretched over 3 series instead of over the course of 1. It's the same dang thing. And again, people seem to keep forgetting. I am not saying that every single one of the mystery box plots before didn't work or were somehow bad. Some of them were great. I'm just sick of the format. There are other ways to do this. Do you think the Cartmel Master Plan's reveal could work if... No. No. I'm not even going to read the rest of that question. No. The answer is no. No. Would you sell your soul for creative success? I would need to get a proper appraisal of my soul first, because I don't know what kind of condition it's in. And honestly, if it's beat up enough, maybe it's worth it for me to just unload it at a premium price. But like, I got to get an appraiser in here first before I even think about answering that question. Charles Dance for male Ronnie. Oh, God. Would you mind Bella coming back? The chemistry with Ryan worked for me. From a chemistry angle, no. From a plot angle, I think I would. Like, I'm not sure if there's anywhere to go with that. Have you heard of Nerdtrotic? Yes, I have. Okay, you know what? Let's get something on the record here right now, because it pops up in the... And this is actually the note I'm going to end up ending this stream on. So... It pops up intermittently, either in comments or people hit me up on Twitter or what have you. The idea that I should debate people like Nerdtrotic or Bolastrek or Clownfish TV or folks like that who are on the very far end, very far away from me, on the whole, this is all progressive agenda and it's ruined this thing type of things. I will never debate these people, ever. And let me be clear, it is not because I think they're bad people. It's not because I even think that there's no value in what it is they have to say. The reason I won't do it, ever, is because there is no benefit for anybody for me to do that. What I would do, in the case of any or all of the people I just mentioned, I would sit down, privately over a cup of coffee and just talk like two human beings. No recorders, no audience. Those are the circumstances under which I would talk to those sorts of people and those sorts of YouTubers, because I would like to honestly pick their brains a little bit about what it is that they say, what it is they see that I don't agree with. But I won't do it publicly. I will not do it in a debate setting because there is nothing to be gained from that. The instant there's an audience, the instant that there is any means to record the conversation, then it immediately becomes performative. Because if I go in on this side of a debate up against to talk to somebody on this side of the debate, and our positions are pre-established before we even come in, neither of us has any reason to concede any ground, because any ground given will be viewed as weakness and will be viewed as the other side winning. And you're in those situations, those debates, you're not trying to convince anybody of anything. You're just trying to put on a good show for whoever the people who already agree with you are. There is zero benefit to actually listening, to actually having a conversation. I would happily have a conversation privately with any of these people. I will never, ever do a YouTube or publicly viewed or recorded debate with them. Ever. So that's where I am on that. And I wanted to put it on the record because I'm not going to say it gets asked a ton, but it gets asked sporadically enough and with enough regularity that I'm like, let's get this official on the record. There are times I dread looking for Doctor Who channels on YouTube because I don't want to come across a channel that is nothing but piles of hate fest. Rebecca, I would highly recommend you take a look at this past year's top 50 WhoTubers that SL Productions put out. Those are nominated by the WhoTube fan community. None of those are hate watchers so far as I know, and that's 50 channels that you can check out. Some very small, some I guess about as big as me. There are one or two with more subscribers than I have that are on that list. But that's a list that you can trust people aren't hate watching the show. So go for that. Susan should turn out to be the other, not the... The other needs to not exist. Just don't. Just don't. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't look it up. It's stupid. It was a stupid idea. We dodged a bullet that it never got done. And so help me, if that is the playbook Chibnall is playing from, if he dug up the corpse of the Cartmel master plan and that's his big end game, I'm going to be really annoyed. Because it was a dumb idea then, it's a dumb idea now. Hope you find some calm after the stream. Don't waterboard yourself over it. I can handle myself just fine. That's usually a sign to stop. But then again, Jody and Chris will eventually leave. And then what will those 8 channels do after that? Well, most of them are also, you know, pulling at Star Wars and CW shows and Star Trek Discovery. Like, they find stuff. But finally caught a stream while live. Oh, good to see you, RC. I'm wrapping up. I always feel bad when people like pop on and like, oh, I made the stream, but I'm like, I'm ending it in a minute. The sex cloud from day one is the other. Sure, why not? There we go. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. So, Do you smoke pot? No, I don't. I have not. God. I think the last time I smoked pot was probably 5 years ago, roundabout. Yeah, no, it's not. It's never really been my thing at any point. Which is strange if Chibnall uses it, since from what I understand, he dislikes McCoy Doctor. I don't know about that. Oh, excuse me. I don't know about that, but thanks for the stream. Take care. Have fun. Thank you. Everybody else as well. I hope everybody has a good rest of the week. This week has not exactly been a joy at work. Oh well. Have a great night. Oh, thank you, Donna, very much. But thank you all for tuning in, listening to me ramble, basking in the glory that is my hair. So thanks for everybody. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and just remember that you are beautiful, you are loved, you are valid, you are the council. I'm just running the meetings. Have a good night.